Hi, I'm Roger. Thank you for joining me again in my own little kitchen. Today we're going to be making something called coquilles St. Jacques. Coquilles means scallops. I don't know who St. Jacques was, but evidently he deserves this meal, so we're making it for him. What we do is we start with a 10-inch skillet. We add the 1 pound of scallops. One cup of water. In here I have half a teaspoon of salt and 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and 2 tablespoons of white wine, a dry white wine. In this case I used a Sauvignon Blanc. We will bring that up to a boil and let it boil for about 2 minutes. Once that comes to a boil, we're going to be pouring the mixture in this. I have a colander and I have a pan to catch the juices because we have to reserve the juices to add them in later to thicken up the sauce. By the way, the scallops I used were bay scallops. Those are the smaller scallops. Sea scallops are pretty big, but these were bay scallops. You can use the larger sea scallops, but you have to make sure that you cut them in half or in quarters, especially if you're going to put them in small shells or ramekins like this. This is going to be an appetizer. If you wanted to do it as a dinner, you would take a larger ramekin or a 2-quart baking dish. Make sure you grease that, and you could cook it in there. Of course, the cooking times would vary depending on how thick the mixture is in the 2-quart container, but this is an appetizer, or you can do it as a main course. As an appetizer, you can feed 8. As a main course, you could probably get, maybe 3 or 4 servings out of it. And as a main course, to make it a little more filling, you could always put it over rice or buttered noodles. This is coming to a boil now. You don't want it to come to a big rolling boil, because otherwise the scallops are going to get very, very tough. So this is about where you want to put them. So now you want to drain this. When working with hot liquids, always go slow. Now in the same pan, at a moderate heat, I'm going to melt the 2 tablespoons of butter. You know the butter's hot enough when you can see it foam. Now to this, I'll put in the minced onion, we'll let that cook for about 5 minutes, stirring it every now and then. Now you can use any kind of mushroom. You can use white mushrooms, you can use cremini or baby bellas, or any kind you want. I prefer the baby bellas. They have a little more earthy taste to them than the white ones. We'll give that a few more minutes. Now what I've done in advance is we'll be topping them with a buttered breadcrumb Now my recipe shows using fresh breadcrumbs and then adding spices to it such as thyme. And in order to save a little bit of time, I used Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. I put 2 tablespoons of butter in this pan, melted it down, and then added half a cup of seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. Mixed it all up, and you can see how nice and lump-free that is. The onions and mushrooms are starting to get soft. They need to go a little bit more. It's only been about 2 minutes. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. The mushrooms and onions are soft. Now I'm going to add the minced garlic, the 2 tablespoons of the chopped parsley, stir that all up. Let the flour cook for a minute. You always want to make the flour cook. Otherwise it has a raw taste. It's also a safety thing. You never want to eat raw flour. Now it's time to get the whisk and the reserved liquid from when I drained out the scallops. You want to add that in slowly while you're stirring with the whisk. This is going to create a sauce. The flour is being incorporated into it. It's thickening up. There's a nice sauce coming there. And now that I have all of that in and whisked pretty well, now we'll add the scallops back in to heat up a little bit. Now comes the fun part, divvying it up. Right now I have 8 scallop shells. I have them in a jelly roll pan to help hold them together. The oven's preheated to 400 degrees. I just have to divvy it up, sprinkle the breadcrumbs and the cheese over it, and we're ready to put it in the oven. Alright, so I've divvied it up between the 8 shells. Now to sprinkle a little bit of the breadcrumbs. I'll go light at first to make sure I have enough to go over all of them. And then I'll go back and put more on. And the reason for the breadcrumbs, even though everything's already cooked, the breadcrumbs and the cheese will give it a nice golden crust. And again, anytime you have people come over, make sure that you ask them about food allergies, because shellfish is a big one on the list. So unless you're in somebody's will, now we'll just sprinkle a little bit of the Parmesan or Romano. I used Romano. You can use anything. Well, not anything. You can use Parmesan or you can use Romano. So I put them in the oven, 400 degrees preheated, on bake for about 10 minutes or until the top of it is a golden brown. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. I just peeked. The topping is a nice little brown on it, so I'll take it out. You can see the golden brown on the breadcrumbs. You can see the sauce simmering away underneath. The smell is fantastic. So, this would be a very good appetizer if you're having a party of 8, or if you do it in a 2-quart baking dish, maybe a dinner for 3 or 4. If you're serving it this way, actually either way, again, a good crisp, dry white wine. You don't want anything like Moscata. You want a good drinking wine. A Chardonnay, a Riesling, Gewürztraminer, a Sauvignon Blanc. That's one of my favorites. And even if you're having it as a main course, you can do that. Again, over rice or buttered noodles with a salad. Or if you're doing it like this as an appetizer, some nice crusty bread along with the side salad, and you almost have a meal. This is Roger. Thank you again for joining me in my own little kitchen. Until next time.